I'm super curious on the moment. Well, even before London, because Milan is a different city, but what was your relationship to the curiosity towards migrating and your openness to it? And how did you, first of all, what was your idea before even it came to like, oh, acting and maybe this is the world where I should want to move it for this, but more so like the openness and this is something that I would want to do. Where did that start? And
In something that I want to do in moving...
migrating.
Migrating.
Being an immigrant, yeah.
Honestly, I realize right now that I've been always more focused in my inner world than in my outer world.
Yeah.
So every choice has always come from a way of something that was happening inside.
Yeah.
Meaning that at that time I wanted to go to Milan because my brother was there, and I did not think about going to another country, live abroad, have the...
You hadn't thought about it.
I didn't have...
Interesting, okay.
I didn't have any thoughts about that. I did not know, or like I had the American dream or none of it. I was just, to me in that moment, I was like, oh, I'm going to stay in Milan, then I'm going to go and do the master that I had to do and continue work here.
In London?
In Milan. London
in
was
Milan.
just 6 months to do what's called its exchange program. Like you go just there for, and I had put, but yeah, a few things.
But at that point you imagined like the possibility of your whole life in Italy.
Yes, or I honestly was so focused about getting my degree at that point that I was not thinking. The only thing I remember, though, that's why I'm saying more of the inner world. I remember calling my mother and saying, Mom, I don't think I can talk about money for the rest of my life. I was working, finance at that point. And I was like, I need to do something different. Like I feel, I remember telling her those words of, I feel politicians right now are not doing enough in our world, and I think entrepreneurs will have the duty to bring forth companies that can actually do good for people.
Yeah.
So I think that was more the way. And and that's the only thing I asked. And then London happened, and then it was through acting. I called my friend and said, where is the best thing where to do acting? And she was like, Los Angeles.
And how was your English?
My English was not ready for this.
But how did you, did you have English in school?
I had some English in school and some private classes, and then mostly was through love, meaning that
It's the best way to learn a language always.
Yeah, what happened honestly is that there was this Australian girl who came to the south of Italy, and she was the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my whole life. And
you were like, I speak English.
No, spoke a little bit. Her father was Italian. We spoke a little bit, and we were like, her photos was like, we were 15, 16, and we had Facebook for the first time, and her photos were like, oh, she's a model maybe, or like, and we started texting on Facebook. One day she liked all my photos. We talked about it, and then we started talking. She was like, you should come to Australia. So I went to my parents and was like, I think English is very important, and I think I should go to Australia. And so I ended up going to Australia by myself.
And I might see a girl or not.
Exactly. By myself.
If she crosses.
At 16, our fathers talked.
I remember that.
I went there, and I went there for 3 weeks, and Australia changed.
And you stayed in her house.
Yeah, they had another house.
Okay, because that's a crazy father.
It's
hers. Yours, of course, Italian. Go, my figlio.
He was Italian too.
Like he was Italian?
He is, so that's why she was he was from Italy, from where I come from, moved to Australia, met a woman, married there, stayed there, and they would just come this summer to visit. Okay. That's how I met her. She invited me. I go there, spend those 3 weeks, and while we were there, of course, I fell in love with Australia. I like, to me, it was just a different world. And maybe that's where I understand that the best way to open your inner world is actually to travel. And
also so you understood that at 16. Yeah. That was kind of my question.
Yeah. I didn't know that was the answer, but now we arrived to it. That's the answer. And then I asked it.
Because I do feel like there's a little switch when you get that curiosity open, and then you're like,
That was it. Because
that's beautiful.
I was there and I came back and I was like, guys, these people, go to school.
This island is...
and do sports. For me, I was playing soccer at that time, and everybody was, it was a mess to go to high school and do sport. And it was like, what are we talking about?
Aussies are the most sporty. Do you have like surf things at school as well, right? Imagine surfing for your school. I had to do PE and...
Exactly. It was ridiculous.
They have a different life, which plays a lot into their culture.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. And then I asked her father, where do you learn English? And and he told me a school. And so next summer I went to Oxford for 3 weeks to do this intense course of every day, like 6 or 7 hours, where they literally send people from companies to study there to get their English done fast. So it was just me 17 and everybody was like over 25.
Beautiful.
And that was another moment. It was like, that's how me, beautiful women, that's how you
understood its doors. Yeah.
That's how the source of everything was this traveling and seeing different places. And to answer your question, Australia, coming through Australia all the time.
Yeah. And what did you feel about, so when you came to LA, were you straight away being very present here in what you were leaving? Were you having a little bit of grief towards Italy? I'm asking this because I feel like, according to what I know and I've seen, and I feel like it's a similar thing actually that you share with Sarah, is that Sarah's extremely curious and loves to travel and live elsewhere, but she does have this deep-rooted love for Italy. I can see there's that still there, and it's very much there when she's been back on the past years, and it's still the way she speaks about it.
Yeah.
You can see there's this deep love, and we've spoken a lot about that since we met when I was 18, and I was just like, I didn't have that. I feel like I'm probably connected much more to my roots now, but I still wouldn't say I'm not patriotic at all.
Yeah.
And so how did you marry those two things? Because you come back often to Italy. I feel like you're more connected.
It's again, I was so focused on making it work here.
Yeah.
That I was trying not to fall into that nostalgia so much. But those first 9 months in LA were the hardest of my life.
Really?
I moved here. I broke up with the girl that I was in love with at that moment. After 2 weeks I was here. And I didn't.
Because you were doing long distance?
Yeah, like we met 4 or 5 months before.
Yeah,
leaving,
that's
of course. And then we broke up right after because we knew that couldn't work. And after 2 weeks, when she broke up with me, I didn't have a person to go and get a beer with or a coffee with. I didn't know anyone, and I was far away. And also, then in school, I was starting this new thing that was acting, which I had no experience. I had no experience in acting. My English was not that good at all.
Yeah.
Everybody was making fun of my accent at school, and I was like, I started from scratch. And so I was missing, I was so in that thing of like, I need to make it work and I need to get a visa next year, that I was suffering, but it was not the nostalgia of like, oh, I miss my pasta and I miss this and that. It was so focused. But at the same time, and also, I wanted to explore LA, and one thing that I remember in my mind also, because I wanted to improve my accent, was like, stay away from Italians, stay with the people.
So important when people are working on languages, and I feel like it's a trap that's so easy to fall into.
Yeah, I don't, I still come from the South, so of course I brought food from here. My mother would send food and still does. And the first film I made, I filmed it in the south of Italy with the name of my town.
Yeah,
like everything
beautiful.
I do is always.
It's
always to bring it back into where I come from, but the thing of like, I want everybody to know that I'm Italian and we're the best in food, and I don't like it. I hate. I tried actually to merge as much as possible with in here, and for many years I think I also tried to push it away, because to always be seen as the Italian. it was just, and it still is sometimes, it's just boring. You know?
And it's a box that, it's interesting because I've found myself falling more into that box with other cultures because when I left, I was in a fight with Colombia.
Yeah.
I was like, I wanted to leave at 16. I just wanted to be away. So I want my accent in French not to sound Colombian. I don't want anyone to be like, she's a Colombian. Everyone like makes comments about dancing. I'm like, I don't know how to dance. You know, like making a statement that I'm not your. But then I realized that I did develop that. Like, for example, when I was in Australia, then I was looking, because again, I had like almost no Colombian friends in France. Mm-hmm. Fully away from the culture, would not listen to Colombian music, to anything in Spanish. I was in a whole different. And then in Australia, I was like feeling more comfy with French and getting a bit more closer to that culture. So I was doing the opposite.
Yeah.
Because I was like, no, but it feels homey in a way. And now here I'm like, but now here it's conscious that I'm spending all my time in places where there's a lot of Aussies. I have my Aussie friends. Like I do feel really home around Australian culture in many ways. Right. But it's interesting because I think we had this conversation not so long ago, actually, because Sarah was like, if I come, she's going to be here for a little bit, you know that. But then we were thinking more long-term on some stuff, and she's always bringing it back to, like, she'll finish a long plan or conclusion, and she'll be like, and because we need to improve this in Italian filmmaking, and there's not this happening, and there's the studios that are being built in the south of, and then she's just like so, and I'm kind of jealous of that feeling in a sense, of not having given up kind of on your country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And to me, I feel that now more than ever. Like, especially with the project that I'm doing right now, which is both in Italian. Which now we have to learn Italian. Every time I get one of your like newsletter, I'm like, it's a good. You wanted to learn Italian.
I've been doing it, but it takes me like 7 hours to go like.
There is an English version too. I do that.
But the first one you didn't have the English ones. Now.
No, I do. The fact
Since the beginning.
Since the beginning.
Not in the same chat. I'm not getting any emails in English.
That's why I need to figure that out. There is only a whole like you don't get the email, but there is a whole section where every post is translated in English, which is taking me double the time.
Yeah, but that's information good to share if it's taking you double the time, because I thought the newsletter is what you get into the email.
No, it's also in English, and that's one thing that I've been thinking a lot about recently. How much time I spent trying to learn this new language and try to express myself in this new language.
And you've done that with Spanish, right? A little bit. I remember
true
like
love as well.
but what about Spanish? Was it true love and then what was the first thing that was getting you to like read books in Spanish that are in Italian and in English? Had you already started and you've fallen in love with a Spanish speaker and then go from there?
Yes,
okay.
Meaning that my group of friends here, they were all from Peru, Colombia, Mexico, and some people from Spain. Like, that was the main group that became my family here. There were a couple of Italians as well, a couple of people from the United States, but mostly Latinos. And that, for me, is the first time I felt like more at home coming here. And then the pandemic started to happen. We spent a lot of time together and we traveled, and we literally were like 11 Latinos and then me. And so everybody was speaking in Spanish. And so I learned Spanish in a different way from English, not from books. I just learned it from listening to it. And my Spanish is not perfect yet, but I can understand everything.
And you can read.
And I can read. I went to Argentina for a month in Patagonia, backpacking and all of that. And that's where I picked up the first books. And I picked up a book from Thich Nhat Hanh. You know?
And I love The Art of Living.
But
that's what I mean when I saw you reading in Spanish. Thich Nhat. I was like, that's niche. Because I'm like going and like finding an Australian and being like, I'm gonna read you in Japanese, just to feel something.
Because I was in Argentina and I wanted to read that book, and there was only in Spanish. And I've never. Well, maybe just 3 or 4 books have impacted me as much as reading the journals from Thich Nhat Hanh in Spanish during that trip. Especially because I didn't understand it fully so well yet, I had to slow down. And of course, his writing is, if you want to read anyone, read Thich Nhat Hanh, because it's just
it's amazing.
Incredible for me. And when you...
The art of living changed I made so many decisions from that. That's when I moved to Queensland and everything.
Beautiful. He's one of my idols. He's one of the people that for me, when I feel like, oh, well, I need to get things done and I need to rush in order to do it, I think this man slowed down his whole life and opened
he was going really
and
slow.
He wrote 15 books and opened
that
10
blew my mind when he was doing, and you're like, and then I was like, he got kicked out of his country, and then I'm in this thing in France, and I'm like, because in your mind he's chilling in a park meditating, and then he's like, so I opened this foundation in France, like, so you spoke, right? Like,
that's to me, I always go back to that, and of other few people of that level, in which I'm like, you want to accomplish something really good, you need to rush. You want to accomplish something immense and life-changing and legendary, you need time and you need to slow down, because otherwise you'll burn yourself out. And so to become indestructible within, I think it's what he did. Yesterday I was reading some essays from James Baldwin. He talks about the same thing of like, at one point, when you're very young, you know that you want to get it done, and it's fair, and we need youth, and we need that energy. But then at one point, there is this shift, knowing if I really want to get it done, like really something that has an impact, I need to know how to do this day by day for the next 15 years. And to burn myself out in the next 6 months won't bring me there.
Yeah.
And so he is one of the people that because he has been through everything. It's like through the deepest pain.
Through everything, because I feel like sometimes we have a bit of that belief, or that it's a fallacy actually, but I do feel like a lot of the times we hear of people sharing wisdom or advice, there's an instinctual reaction of like, you don't have it as hard as I do. Like, you haven't gone through this, and you're like, it's like, you know, even people that are maybe in terms of their careers farther than we are, so we're like, I would be chill if I was, you know what I mean, like kind of that thing. And then when you actually go through like inside and learn the struggles, and Thich Nhat Hanh just goes, but the way he speaks so casually about how he just got like exiled from his country, and then if he came back, he was a political prisoner and all the things, and then he was just at the same time. So then you kind of come back whenever there's a thing back, you're like, oh, no, I actually am the one who has it. Chiller.
Than him, for sure.
And he was chill.
But yes, the beauty of it is that those people that say, oh, I had it harder, is because probably sometimes they still have some work to do.
Yeah.
And Thich Nhat Hanh, who didn't have much work to do with it, that sort of pain becomes a source of compassion and not a source of, I did it by myself. And
it's like I felt,
It's this compassion which allows you to connect more and more with people. Because when you see, the only way we can connect with the darkness of someone else or the pain of someone else is by acknowledging our own darkness, our own pain.
In fact, having been there, and it's crazy, because I think that's the kind of gift that you get when you go through like your first really like hardcore breakup. You go through a moment where you're like, I don't think I was able to be there for my friends who were going through that at the time, even though you were.
Yeah.
You're like, now that you're like, oh, I was not, like I didn't, and you couldn't have, but it's this thing of like, now you do have that gift for the next one, because now you're like, there's an empathy that you don't develop until you've touched it.
Absolutely. There's this meditation teacher called Joseph Goldstein that says, don't waste your suffering. And
that's beautiful.
And one of the way that I interpret that as well.
I feel that a lot with immigration. But yeah, keep in mind.
Yeah, it's in. I want to know about how, but I think that the don't waste your suffering. It's also a way of anytime you avoid, again, as I was saying before, that darkness, you're avoiding the possibility to connect with the other person. Anytime you're getting your heart broken, you're opening a door to connect with every other person who got
that has been heartbroken. Yeah.
And every time you're going through an immigration thing, you can truly understand just even a little bit more what people are actually going through with immigration. And it's so every suffering, every moment of suffering in our lives, if we can see it in that way, becomes an opening to the heart of other people. And to me, that's become a great way to in those moments, to see it not only as just something I need to get through, but something of like I'm
like
giving,
a little gift.
Yeah, and again, it's not the gift that I needed in just to say, oh, I'm so happy that suffering
That I'm
is
depressed
here.
and that this visa is being a pain in the ass.
Exactly.
I just love the government. Yeah.
But can I feel it, as Rilke says, in can I accept both beauty and terror, and be open to
and
both
let
of
it
them.
come true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's to me yeah, you said it beautifully with when you get your heart broken. At the first you can say
The first time I got my heart,
Yeah.
I mean, the first my big breakup, I did have a cold, especially with one person, but like 3 of my friends, because I was already like turning 25, so I had all my friends. I had gone through 1,000 breakups and I hadn't. And I was kind of coming back going like, how did you do it? Like, no, but truly from a really, I didn't get it, because I was like, wait, this is what people are going through all the time, apparently, because everyone speaks about breakups. And I was at a point, specifically those days, where I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna go through. Like, it just felt like one of these things that I'm just like, how the fuck? Because I have all these tools and I have all these like support system, and I was like in a very privileged position to go through it, and with the knowledge that if I stayed in that state, I could go and get help and random stuff like that I know a lot of people don't have. And I'm like, everyone in the world is going, how the hell? And I was having and one of my friends who had a really hardcore one like 3 years before. And when I had this call and I was like, I'm sorry, because I don't feel like I was there for you, because I didn't understand. I was kind of like, this sounds so bad, but it's true, it's how I was feeling. My reaction to people's breakups before I ever experienced it depended on how much I valued their ex-partner. So if I thought they were kind of like, I was like, you're not gonna suffer that much.
Yeah.
You're not that.
You're not losing anything.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
yeah.
And I was always relating it like that. And of course, anyone who's like broken or like hurt your friends or whatever, you're gonna be like devaluing.
Yeah.
So it was so interesting because it actually has nothing to do like with the external point of view on that person. It like she could be, and when I had this conversation, she was like, I was 7 months on antidepressants, and she told me all these things. She went through this like thing to get help in a moment, and I was like, oh. So now also I treat breakups very differently, because I don't try to fix it. Like, oh no, but look at the list why he was not right. I'm just like, I can be sitting here with you.
It's a good friend.
Well, but you cannot do that until you've been there. You want to fix it, you're like intellectualizing it, and same with like, and this is not to be that general, but I think there's a different connection that I have in general throughout the world with people that have immigrated. Because I think there's an empathy that you do not have, and I don't blame you not to have it, but you just don't have when you haven't, because you haven't, so you kind of try to know what people are going through. You're in a table, and I was always, for example, in France, just with French. I was not hanging out with immigrants. And you're like with this thing, and someone's gonna mention a visa, or they're gonna get an email, and they're gonna have like a panic attack, and you're not gonna get it.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like, oh yeah, poor, I hope that solves. You don't really realize it's a hole, your grounds, you're feeling like you're in quicksand, and there's all these things happening, and there's the language. And then within that comes the fact that the privilege in immigration that we have, because I've been an immigrant for over 11 years, and I feel like a lot of my sensitivity does go to that, and my first film went about that. Like, I'm very into that subject, because all my family have immigrated. So it's a sensitive subject, but I also think that it's crazy that within the privilege of like, I immigrated to study, and I had all this like, and I already had like the basis of the language and everything. And then you're in France with, because you have to queue, like a lot of my first visa processes that I get online was on the same offices that you have to queue since 4 a.m. with refugees.
Yes.
And you don't get it. Like, it's because then you're just like here because you want to like learn a new language, and you're young, and you're in a whole different trip. The way we got treated as immigrants in that process, and I was like renewing student visa, but you had to do it every year. The way we got treated was not great, and I was completely fluent. And they were not, because they had literally just escaped. Like, you don't have time to have French classes as you're like escaping war. and having someone behind getting pushed back because they didn't know what like a photocopy like should look like or something like that. And you go, I have this empathy towards immigration, and I still don't have the empathy of that. And also like the empathy of, we've spoken about this a lot with Sammy, because Sammy immigrated, had a lot of issues as well with paperwork and visas and all this stuff. Couldn't see her family for ages, but still she was not afraid to go back to her country. I was.
Yeah.
So it was this thing where I grew up thinking my biggest failure in life would be to come back.
Okay.
And that's a whole different point as well to immigration. I was like, oh, I have a staying place, I don't want to be living there, but I didn't have that. So all these different levels of that journey, and still the fact that I just went back and I'm super privileged in Colombia.
Yeah.
I can be back and have a great life if I want to. You know what I mean?
It's a different thing of, and that I could relate with as well, to see that you have a dream and to not accomplish those immigration steps would break a dream of your life or your friends, because you still have a value. And of course, there is a different thing in meaning that if the immigration doesn't go well, you are in danger, right? Because you need to go back to your country or getting disconnected with your family and all the things. But still, that's the thing, that even if you cannot comprehend the depth of it, when it's heartbreak, it's a different thing of like, we say, oh, I understand heartbreak because my girlfriend broke up with me when I was 18. It's a very different thing of getting heartbreak when you've been married 10 years and you find out your husband or your wife have been cheating you and having a second family, right?
And you don't get that.
But at the same time, that type of pain or suffering, whatever it is, it's still, again, as I was saying before, a little door into that. So we can understand or fully comprehend the depth of immigration problems or heartbreak, but you can imagine, oh wow, if in this privileged position he feels like that.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine when it's truly at their, at the highest level.
Yeah, and so you relate to them differently in a way, though. At least I think there's a beautiful empathy in understanding that you don't know, rather than going like, oh, it's just this. There's a beautiful thing that Danny Ocean said on like an interview he did in Colombia, where he was speaking. He made this song, Me Rehuso, like I refuse. Have you heard that song?
Yes.
Do you know the story behind that song?
No, zero.
So Me Rehuso sounds like it kind of gives like reggaeton, like it kind of gives like party, and you can interpret the whole song as like to a lover, which sells really well, because it's like I refuse to like not come back to you, I refuse not to touch you, I refuse that like version of reality where you're not part of it. And then that was like what broke him like into like a different level in his career and got him to collaborate with artists he wanted to work with and everything. But they were diving into that, and he was just like, I was crying in my toilet about the fact that I couldn't go back to Venezuela and I couldn't see my family. And he wrote that whole song. It calls her hair, like the country. And it's like, it's fully about Venezuela and about the fact that I couldn't come back and I couldn't touch you and I couldn't touch your sea and I couldn't touch like my grandma's house and everything. And then goes into I think, and he was explaining, he was like, I think that's why that song really resonated. And people didn't interpret it like that, but it resonated because it came from so much truth. He was like, I really think you should follow your pain as an artist. There's information in your pain, not as like getting sad, but what hurts you more than other people. We all have sensitivities. Like some people are more sensitive to these issues in the world, and there's so many issues that we're not going to be able to like. But I think it's interesting within those moments where you're just like, this touched me more than something else. But I found that crazy because that's something that no one would even think about that song.
Yeah, and it's that's the beauty of art itself, in which it becomes it doesn't matter why he wrote it, what's the purpose behind. It just becomes a completely different object when it touches another person.
What's your relationship to writing? Because I know you're really into journaling and you've read people's journals. How did that start after meditation, or was that a habit before?
I've been journaling for the last 10 years at this point.
How did it start?
It started when I was probably 8, 9.
Okay.
Was very young. Started the
I'm
journal
so
there.
jealous.
I always loved writing since that moment. And then like at 12, my friends started.
But how would it be like today at school, or were you being like very
that type
poetic?
of, no.
Okay.
It was that type of thing. I met this person, and I
Yeah.
did this, and I like.
I get an A.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then but I wrote just a little bit, and then they made my brother. I remember him saying, "That's so gay." And I was like, okay, I guess I don't journal anymore. So I stopped. I stopped completely for many years. And only when I started doing acting, they said, oh, to prepare for a scene, it would be great to start writing.
To journal.
And so to journal.
Like, I'm not gay.
And I was like,
To your
okay,
teacher.
now they tell me I can. And from that moment, I journaled for the last 10 years. And of course, with different, like sometimes a little bit more intensely, but the last 6 or 7 years, I wrote every morning.
Yeah.
And right now, actually, it's been the last 2 months in which I took a break because it had become something not healthy, which was
What do you
crazy.
mean?
I arrived to. So first of all, everybody should journal. It's the most. It's
Yeah.
the healthiest. It's the
This is going a
healthiest thing
little bit
ever.
against the.
But to me, I realized it was during the. I was on a silent retreat for a month, and so after 10 days, I realized I was journaling while being there, and then just talking with my teacher, I realized journaling, if you do it in that way, can just become another way in which you start telling the story of your life rather than living it. And so he had become this place where I would just say it and plan it and do this and commenting on it, and I would become a very expert about life rather than living it. And so he had become an obstacle. And also I was going through the level of, deeper level of consciousness and blah, 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 where words are not really what you want to bring with yourself. And so I was like, let me take a break.
So within that, it was not forbidden because you were telling me you were not writing or
You are
reading.
forbidden. I would just write.
In the bathroom.
No, you can't, no, it's not forbidden. It's not suggested.
It's not, okay.
And I would write just a little bit, but it was a big realization for me in saying in this moment of my life to slow down a little bit with it. But again, the slowing down comes from someone who's been journaling for 10 years, and also the realization that without journaling, I would have not survived here. I would not be here still, and it saved me. It saved me more than anything else I've done, even meditation.
Yeah.
Like the possibility in those mornings, both during the pandemic when I spent 2 years being away from my family, and also in tough times where I felt not understood, I felt I could not really communicate with anyone, and I felt I was not really accomplishing what I want to do. To have those mornings in which I would do a tea and sit down at my desk and write just felt like my refuge. And I could not be more grateful for it. And from those writing and the journaling, meditation came out of it, films came out of it.
Yeah.
Trips came out of it. Like everything came out from this thing of if every morning you just write for the sake of it, like just to write. At one point, the layers that we have accumulated of fakeness, I don't know if that's a word, of like just this sense of not being honest.
Masks.
These masks, at one point they get tired.
It's a crazy thing that happens in the exercise. And yeah, I completely agree with you. I owe journaling.
Writing Down the Bones.
No.
It's a great book. After
Okay.
Thich Nhat Hanh, Writing Down the Bones.
I'm gonna put them all down in the link.
It's a great book, and I remember reading that book, and it said that you had to have a pen that was faster than your mind, and the book was written in the 80s, and so you would go to a place and they would make you try pens. Now those places don't exist.
Oh.
So I went to Target.
And you were like, hi, can I open all your pens?
That's what I thought I was going to do. I found a man dressed as a fairy, literally, like as in LA. In LA, that
yeah, okay. He was not on mushrooms. He was in LA.
I was sober, and I was looking at pens, and he was next to me, and he was like, "Are you looking for something?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm looking for a pen that goes faster than my mind." He was like, "I'm an expert in pens." And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, I know all the pens. And he told me all about the pens.
That's such an LA thing to have.
And then he was like, this is the pen you need. And I bought that pen, and I've only used that pen for the last 6 years. That's it. It's a perfect...
I did not expect it going this way.
It was,
wow.
Yeah, and so journaling, that's why I'm saying it, because
That shift of 6 years ago, then after that book, then I started to write every morning. The pandemic was happening, so I had more time.
Yeah.
And then writing became something else. And then I wrote,
And then you have a relationship with it, like anything else, and then you're like, maybe we take a little bit of a break. Yeah. It's interesting with writing. I'm so jealous of people.
for an hour this morning, by the way. Just to...
You were like, I'm taking a break.
I took a break, but this morning
it was a 2-day break.
Yeah, today's Sunday. So.
Yeah. It's funny because with the journal, like, I'm so jealous of people like that have that amount of information, like in terms of if you've done it for 10 years. And it was jealousy. I was reading Green Lights, and he goes, oh, so I went into this cabin and I took out my journals and some like, I don't know, like 12 or something. He had all his journals. And I was like jealous. I was like, imagine having the thoughts of like 12-year-old Natalia. I mean, she's probably insane, but still, I would be so curious. I'd pay a lot of money to just be like, what the hell were you writing about?
That's the thing that, to me, started to become an obstacle, though. Because then you start to record your life.
Well, it's because I think the recording, I'm going to be super honest with this, and that's one of the things, I've said this, but that's one of the things I have so much towards journaling for as well. In the recording aspect, because there's different ways to do it and everything, but I truly feel like I owe living an abusive relationship to journaling.
Okay.
Because there was a moment where I could come back a year and saw that something that happened a year ago was very similar to what I just wrote.
Yeah.
And that's actually, then I've studied that afterwards, but there's a moment, I think it's called the crystallization, no. Something like the crystallization of something, when it's like a common thread in the whole like cycle of someone in a cohesive relationship and how people get out, and they have to crystallize the situation at some point in terms of they need to understand that thing that happened is connected to this, and it's not like, oh, this happened just today because something set this person off, or because there was traffic, or because there was a thing, and this explosion is a one-time thing. So journaling did that for me in terms of so in terms of the accounting of the life, I know what you mean, where like you just don't want it to be a thing, but it's an interesting way of like, there's an accountability to why did I write this a year ago?
I agree 100%.
And I'm on the same place.
I would suggest someone to take a break from journaling only if he or she has done it for 10 years at least.
Yeah, that's an important thing to say.
If you haven't done it for 10 years every day, then don't even consider
Don't even try breaking.
Because it is
an insane tool.
It's an incredible tool. And it's an incredible tool even to learn how to think. Because it's very difficult, and even meditating for a long time now, like, it's quite not the same to create order in your mind, to do it with your just pure consciousness or in meditation, or to see it on paper.
Because there's distance with paper.
It's distance. It's there. You can see it. And also to me, again, writing and acting, but also writing after became this idea of connecting to something else. Is that it's like, at one point you realize
someone else is writing.
I knew that.
There's a moment where you're getting to know yourself, or whatever it is that's speaking, but there's moments that you're like, and I feel like it usually comes after like the third page. The first three are like usually nonsense, at least for me, is like what I did in the day and what annoyed me about it, like random stuff that I probably, and then there's stuff happening usually after third one. I'm like, oh, did I think that? Yeah. Or did I feel that about that person?
It's beautiful.
It's a weird experience, but I think is what you said is so important for everything in terms of, I have a little bit of a nick towards people that promote intuitive eating after having, like, I'm a massive like fan of intuitive eating, but I understand, I don't think that's what you should like sell people as like a solution for a lot of their health issues or whatever, because every single intuitive eater that I know around me tracked their food and their macros for like 10 years.
So this is so important.
You know what I mean? Sometimes eating disorders, got to a point where I can see a plate and I can eyeball most plates and tell you how much protein and calories I've got there, because I had a proper issue about it and I was tracking every little thing that got into my mouth. So now I can sit down and be like, I just intuitively eat.
It's, it takes quite a little bit of work to connect with your intuition, because before that, your intuition for a long time can just be the consequence of your fears and
your habits. And your habits, which is...
And so you think, oh, that's my intuition, right?
Your fears can be sound so similar to your intuition if you don't know how to recognize them.
Exactly. So I agree. It's the same thing, sometimes meditation teaches like, it's a void. It's like, nothing, but it was like, in order to say that and to arrive that, you've practiced for 40 years and then you can live in that space. The same thing with journaling. You can take a break or the eating. But before that, you need clear instructions, simple steps, and you need to approach it with a lot of humility. And
a moment of unlearning.
Yeah.
Which I think, for example, happens a lot with food, where like, if you don't have a moment where you even get an idea of what protein looks like in terms of portion or what it does in your body, if you grew up in a country like Colombia where we just don't eat vegetables, we don't have them in our typical plates, it's just not a thing.
I love it.
My intuition was never like, why don't you just grab no, like, of course not, I want cereal.
Yeah.
So it's this thing of like, you do have to, I find it like, I don't know who's saying this in the book, but there's someone that speaks a lot about the higher taste. I don't remember who that is. It's in the New Earth. Who did Eckhart Tolle?
Okay.
He had a New Earth. He has a chapter called Higher Taste, and he's speaking about when it comes to like entertainment, when it comes to food, when it comes to like whatever, you develop a higher taste in terms of like, you still crave stuff, but they're different. Like maybe you want to entertain yourself and you listen to like a podcast or something, rather than maybe before you would be like a reality whatever.
Yeah.
Not shitting on reality, everyone to each their own, but that type of thing where like,
stop watching reality shows.
It's a whole thing. I don't. You know what I mean? I don't get it, but we had a thing. So Les, our acting coach, said something really, he was at some point made it an exercise for us to watch a few scenes, because there was an actress that was speaking about how she would watch reality to get some inspiration or random shit. And I have like a deep-rooted like hatred, like rejection towards it. But then I'm like, I don't know, it's not my thing. But I'm just saying there's other stuff that would be, like entertainment that feels like cheaper, like scrolling.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Or just, so the higher taste then goes with as well, then you get obsessed and you're like, I'm just gonna get illuminated if I spend the whole day meditating. I had that a lot with not spending time. Like the marrying with spending time with people I love and spending time alone. Because I went to the extreme where I was like, I get a lot of spending time alone and doing all these things. But then when I would be traveling, for example, now with my grandma and stuff, of course I would have less time to be doing all my routines. And all my, all the things that I find the baseline. But then you're like, but there's an ability, there's something that I need to do when I'm with my grandma that probably I'm not getting the same out of right now, because it doesn't feel as peaceful. But in terms of value, and I think that's when you get to the place where you're like, maybe I'm overusing this, and it became just another placebo to distract myself from other stuff. But then, and my grandma, coming back to that, puts novellas on. So I'm just sitting there like, why are you watching this bullshit? You know what I mean? But then I'm like, but I'm spending time with her.
Some of the most amazing moments in the last few years happened watching reality show with my mother when I'm back.
You know what I mean? That's exactly what I mean.
Reality TV in terms of like, it doesn't make sense. It is the thing that makes the most money and it's most shared, and
it's like horror
that should
films
not be at the top of the list of the things we watch. But
it is?
It should not.
But it is?
I don't know if it's on top, but
yeah, maybe. I wouldn't think that will be on top.
It's incredibly, like people, like on those shows, I don't know, I mean, we should do it.
But it's true with the amount of, so I hear it, I'm hearing about.
Medias in which people watch.
Fair, yeah.
For sure. Could be even, like all the Basher and the Kardashians and all those shows make.
Yeah, because people keep on speaking about Love Island, so I'm like, if there's such a...
I watched an episode last year. I was dating a girl that loved it and told me we need to watch an episode together.
Was it good?
I broke up.
They did.
After a couple
Oh
weeks.
my God, that's so dramatic.
No, it was.
I'm sure you watch it alone
You
in the
understand
corner.
why it's. That's the thing. It's, of course it is entertaining. Chocolate is great. Like, candies are fantastic. Like.
But again, how much do you crave? It's the crave. Is, you know, the moment where like someone craves like apples or whatever. It's like, do you really? And it's like, yeah, you can. But it does come, I think.
Yeah.
And even
You become so boring to everybody else, I guess.
you do.
When you start craving apples rather than candies.
Well, yeah.
I do crave apples.
You
and
do.
That's why.
But there's science behind that, though. There's this book called The Neuroscience of Habits by Menno Henselmas. I translated it for a job. Anyways, there's a proven thing, which is that you will release the chemicals to crave what you have of the most. So if you stop eating, which I think is a thing because people are like, no, but have this cookie that you love like once every so often so that you're not that extreme. But if you don't have it at all for years, you stop craving it. And it truly happens, like in terms of your brain, because you end up forgetting how something tastes.
Yeah.
And then you have the relationship for you right now to sweetness is an apple rather than maybe like a donut or whatever. And then you guys are so lucky because like I see Sarah, you guys have I feel like Italians have a really good, complete way of eating and diet and veggies. Sarah loves cooking veggies and stuff. We don't. But yeah, it's that thing about you do have to go through that process in everything. And hopefully for people that could go faster, you don't have to go to the extremes of stuff. But I tend to also go to the extremes and then go, But it's good to know that when you like hear these things that are so generalized about just be intuitive and just go with your. How do you differentiate between like an intuitive feeling and a fear for decision making? An intuitive, maybe not there, whether it's like with a job or with a place or with a relationship, or this is like a fear or a past trauma or a weird attachment.
I've thought about this for a long time. And my rational brain wanted to find a way, to know between the two. And the closest that I got to, it's to get in touch with my body. So it is the first thing is like not what my brain, because in my brain, the two things are very similar, but always my body reacting to it. So that would be the first thing that I would do at this point, honestly. And the other one is that sometimes you need to make a choice and make a decision, and as you do it, realize what.
That's when you realize if it was a fear or if it was an intuition.
Be ready to readjust. So sometimes, like,
yeah.
Every time we want to do that process of like, let me check intuition, let me check, Yeah. If it's fear or that, then sometimes you just end up not making a choice, which is, I think, the point where many of us at this point, sometimes we get stuck into. It's that we have so much knowledge and so much self-knowledge, and then we want to think that we can analyze something so deeply that we'll know exactly what
to do.
And sometimes, so it's important to have discernment, and so have some techniques when something is coming up of like what is that is calling you, because sometimes intuition knows if it is intuition or fear. You know what I mean? There is something, but
again, I do feel keep on coming back to that. I do feel that, for example, that line on a specific moment hormonally is so blurred.
Okay, yeah.
So blurred, because also it's a body thing. But I find it like
the best way is not to make a choice during those weeks or that week or however.
I mean, with this type of things, yeah, but I think it's interesting because it's that I ask this all the time to my mom, and her answer to this, when it's on those moments, I'm like, I'm not sure who's talking. Because the other one is also very me, so the other one has great arguments. Mm-hmm. Like even the fear one, it doesn't sound crazy because it sounds crazy in my way, but it's going to argument it like even spiritual. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's going to use the same arguments as well that I have. So it's like, you know what I mean?
It's to say one of the things, same teacher that said, don't waste your suffering. There is one thing that happens when a meditation that it's usually doubt, which is very common to artists as well. It's like that's of the hindrances, of the challenges you have when you're practicing. It's one of the deepest because it's so similar to wisdom. their voice of doubt, it's so similar to wisdom. It makes so much sense because it
makes a lot of sense.
It tells you all the reasons why, like, what do you think? You're gonna be an actor? Are you crazy? The percentages of this and people are this, and it's doubt, but it sounds like so wise. So one has to be very careful.
It will use all the technical books that you've read. It will use everything that you have.
That's why to be too smart or book smart sometimes goes against you, because you're feeding not only your soul, you're also feeding information to your fear and to all the reasons.
You're giving it power, like AI.
Yeah, exactly. You're feeding all this information. So to me, the choice more than intuition or fear, am I acting out of love or hate? Like I'm doing this, it's
love or hate or love or fear? Love or hate? You think about
hate,
it like...
I mean, in this case of like, it is something that will hurt someone or somebody, or it's hurtful or not hurtful. There are different levels to look at this.
Okay.
But the way that will this choice be expansive? That's why I'm saying the body.
Expansive is a really good word, I think.
Usually that's the thing, more than saying, oh, is this the voice of intuition or fear? It becomes more difficult. And anytime instead I can align in terms of this love or fear.
Sick. Well, I could keep on. We probably need like 7 episodes of this podcast forever, but we're probably getting close to the time. I have a question that I wanted at the beginning, but it's now. If you had like 8-year-old Ali here. 8-year-old. If you had him here, what about him? What about his hobbies, his curiosities, what he was doing, the way he would talk? How would we know if we're looking at you now and the things where you're going now and who you are now, which even if it's in transition, how would we know? How would we have known?
How would we have known that?
What clues was he giving you?
Gotcha. A hard work already at that age, like it's certain determination.
Okay.
To him, and that was based on curiosity. Like that's one of the things. It's this thing, and it was a very kind kid, honestly.
Okay.
If I have to say another.
Cute.
Yeah, but also already at that age, suffering of a lot of perfectionism. So you would see
at 8.
At that, yeah.
Wow.
My father called me the professor when I was 4 or 5. Like that was their name, you know. I was that type of kid, very intense.
So you see, they have a lot of clues.
Yeah, there are many clues. I recently I went to my grandmother's house a couple of years ago, and then I spent 3 days at her house, and then she sent a message to my mother saying, wow, it became again the kid that used to come here, when he was very young. Because those years, especially that year that I went there, it had been truly a transformative year. I was 28, so good luck.
Yeah.
It was an important...
That's when you were like, you're going through it.
Was like, we need to go back.
But don't you, that's a beautiful feedback to have from someone who knows your soul.
It's still, any time that I get lost, I go back to that, because the way she said that, I was like, I wish you could say that for the rest of my life. Because what she was referring to was not the fact, I still looked older, of course, but of that sense of curiosity and also the perfectionism, also all these things, but just with a different type of lightness.
Yeah, and with a different approach to them.
I was thinking in my early 20s, up to 28, 29, I think, I was taking myself so seriously. So freaking seriously. Yeah. And right now that has shifted.
Epic. Well, thank you so much for this. Is there anything that you wanted to say that I didn't ask?
I say that we'll do it for another episode.
Okay.
Because I would love to be back.
Yes, you will be back. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're so welcome.
And for the bullets.
Thank you, guys. So happy to be back. Thank you for diving in wonder, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.